Hello and welcome to our session on travel vlogging with a purpose. I'm Louis Cole and this is my fiance Raya.
Hi.
I've actually been on YouTube. This year is my 10th year making videos and it's been a crazy 10 years. And then recently we've started a couples channel.
I've also been uploading on my own channel. Raya was here for about 7 years, and then we started our couple channel about a year ago, but really recently started focusing on it. And yeah, it's been quite a journey, lots of ups and downs, and we have a lot to share with you. Whether you are a travel vlogger yourself or you just have questions about traveling in general, we have a lot of tips coming up for you.
Yeah, and we thought we'd start off by maybe just sharing a little bit more about who we are and kind of what we've been doing and a bit of our story. I'll try and keep it brief. Also, apologies if the connection's bad. We're calling in right now from the south of France. We've been living in the US for the last 2.5 years, and we've only just started traveling again. We came back to the UK to visit my family, who I hadn't seen since before COVID, and we're currently living in a van. Right now, though, we're staying at a friend's house, but yeah, so 10 years ago, I started sharing more of my life on YouTube. YouTube was very young and it was an exciting time to kind of get into YouTube back then. And yeah, it was very quickly became my full-time job, I guess. And I was daily vlogging for about 4 to 5 years of my time on YouTube. And my passion, even before kind of got into YouTube, was traveling the world, experiencing different cultures, and it was an amazing thing to be able to combine kind of my passion for travel and making videos, and it kind of all came beautifully together. And yeah, like I said, it's been a wild ride, kind of traveling the world. I think I've traveled to like 83 countries, so there's still a lot more to visit. But yeah, lots of interesting things I've learned, stuff that we'll be talking to you guys about over the next 30 to 45 minutes. And obviously, if you've got questions, please do ask or drop them down and ask at the end. But yeah, that's been, I mean, I didn't really go into much detail about my journey, but yeah, that's been my YouTube journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I've always loved traveling. I grew up in Bulgaria. I moved to the US when I was 10. I went to university in London. I moved a lot growing up. And I actually studied anthropology and journalism at uni. No idea, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I loved learning about cultures and I loved telling stories. And when I met Louis about a year after I graduated, at that point, I think there were like maybe 5 travel vloggers, and I honestly hadn't even come across travel vlogging before. So it was like this whole new thing. I remember before I used to say, if I could travel like 1 week out of the year, like as part of my job, or maybe even a month, that would be the dream. And I met Louis and I met a few of his friends who were also vlogging, and I was like, wow, you get to do this full time. And I'm just so grateful. It opened like a whole new world for me. And at the time, I basically was like, I don't know how to make videos. I don't know how to edit. I don't know anything about this world, but I'm just going to try it. And if I don't like it, or if I'm not good at it, I'll just go back to exactly what I was doing before. So it kind of was like a no-lose situation. Yeah, so I tried it and completely fell in love, and that was almost 7 years ago.
Yeah, and it was interesting for me because I think when I first got into YouTube, it was kind of a crazy route into YouTube. I was doing like these really sensational videos where I was eating weird things. And then I realized, actually, I don't really want this to be my legacy. This was always just a silly, fun thing I was doing, but it kind of opened my eyes to, wow, there's this whole world of people making videos, like vlogging in their bedroom or little comedy skits or music, whatever it was. And it was just this new, amazing world opening up. And I was like, okay, what am I really passionate about? And yeah, I decided just to start sharing little short vlogs of my day. And this is way before people were posting like Instagram stories and stuff. So it's quite exciting for people to see somebody sharing their day every day. And there was a few daily vloggers, but no one was really traveling and showing the world with it. So it was like kind of crazy to be right there at the beginning of the travel vlogging space. And yeah, before you know, before I knew it, I was getting loads of opportunities to work with tourism boards for, to make money through YouTube with the adverts and stuff. And this started to become like, oh wow, this is, yeah, like I said, like a job for us. And this was a few years before I even met Raya, and then obviously our paths converged, and then we've just travelled a lot of the world together as well. And yeah, anyway, it's exciting to be here. I'm so excited to be able to share some of our learnings and wisdom with you.
So we thought we would start by sharing some of our biggest mistakes and lessons that we've learned.
Good place to start.
Yeah. Do you want to start?
Yeah, so I'd say, like I said, quite quickly, I got a lot of opportunities to travel and visit hotels and things. And I feel like my core passion for travel was always more of the authentic connection with people and really experiencing the culture of countries. And I think that's what impacted me from when I first had a visceral travel experience, probably when I was like 14. I'd done traveling in Europe, but when I was 14, I went to Asia with my parents. We went to Malaysia and Indonesia, and like I had a really eye-opening experience of like this whole world is out there with a completely different culture, completely different customs, completely different ways of lives and values. And this is what I think gave me a lot of, just broadened my perspective, basically. And I feel like that's what I wanted to do with my videos, and show people this amazing world. And one of my favorite sayings is, travel is the antidote to ignorance. So yeah, for me, it's just like inspiring people to get out there and experience the world. But anyway, my mistake was I feel like I quite quickly started just following these opportunities rather than choosing, okay, these are the big places and things I really, really want to do. I started just saying yes to every opportunity, which sounds like a very privileged position to come from. But it was definitely a mistake for me just to say yes to everything, because before I knew it, I wasn't being very authentic. It wasn't things I really was passionate about doing. I was just ended up promoting all these nice swanky hotels, and like my audience were like, probably felt a bit like, this doesn't fully align with what you're about, and I could tell that. So obviously it's kind of finding the balance between maybe doing things that aren't perfectly aligned, but they align enough because you need to make money as well, So I think that was one big mistake. And then also, I guess, just traveling at the speed that we were traveling it was so fast that, again, it's we were flying to different countries almost every week, and I feel like at that speed it's hard to really be present and to really take in be in the moment and really absorb the culture you're in. So that's something we constantly have to check ourselves on, and even still is a struggle sometimes, because it's so exciting to travel fast, but I think you lose the authenticity of what travel's about. So again, I feel like I look back at phases of me traveling, and it was like I just felt like I was lost in making videos and traveling, making videos, and it was kind of that conveyor belt, and I wasn't.
It's almost like the country you were in didn't even matter.
Yeah, you're just ticking it off the list, or you're just having that next experience, that next destination.
It was definitely quantity over quality.
Yeah. And then probably another mistake that springs to mind is, I got a lot of backlash a few years ago when I visited North Korea, and the way in which I showed the vlogs and my experience there, a lot of people felt was insensitive because it didn't encapsulate some of the important issues or like bad things that are going on in North Korea. And if I was being analysed as a journalist, I can understand the criticism. So anyway, I felt like I was in this interesting space, because I was like, I understand a bit of the criticism, but I also feel like I was just going there as a tourist, showing my experience.
And no other vlogs or places did you comment on politics?
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't like coming into the US and criticising, US politics or human rights violations or whatever. So anyway, but I do look back and think maybe I could have framed that a bit better. Maybe it was a mistake to be as light-hearted. I don't know. Anyway,
I think it's like people that weren't your audience that would come across the videos didn't understand that you're just blogging your life.
Yeah, they didn't have context to like all the 1,000 other videos I made from around the world with this like kind of fun, light-hearted approach to my travel experience. But anyway, yeah, I'd say those are my mistakes and lessons I learned. What about you?
Yeah, so my first one that I would say is that I put myself in a box. And I think when I started, it was very much like, are you a beauty blogger? Are you a travel blogger? Are you a fashion blogger? It was very specific boxes. So I put myself in the travel blogger box. And I think there were times when I wanted to share things outside of that, and I wasn't letting myself do that. So that was my first mistake, with not giving myself the freedom to create what I'm passionate about. And when I did open myself up to that and I started making more videos, yes, still the travel vlogs, but also videos on self-love and so much more conscious living, that felt so much more authentic to me and me sharing my journey. So that's definitely a big advice for me. If you're a content creator, just don't box yourself in too much, especially if you do it long term. I think there will be times in your life, maybe years in, you're excited about new things. So don't be afraid to try new things. And then my other huge mistake was when we first started out, we were just vlogging on like tiny point and shoot cameras, just filming our day, super chill. And pretty quickly it felt like things got so much more cinematic, and there were drones and a few different cameras and lenses, and all of a sudden there were photographers and videographers and models, and especially for a woman, like women were bringing like gowns to shoot photos and videos in. And I think both of us really got a little bit caught up in that. And, just looking at the numbers and comparing, and I found myself, I had a breaking point. I was in Morocco at a conference, and I was there with a few other creators. And I remember having dinner with the other creators and just saying like, oh, so we have the next couple of days, free after the conference in Morocco. What are you going to do here? And everyone started listing out like photo shoot locations and just places that they wanted to go get incredible video footage of. And none of it was like to have experiences. It was just like, oh, this is going to look beautiful. And I remember thinking, what if I create a video like that, and then my audience comes to Morocco and recreates all those locations and leaves? Like, is that what I want to be inspiring in people? And it really, honestly, it really shook me. And my friend was there with me, and I was like, we need to take like a day for me to just figure out what I'm even doing here. And we ended up booking a cooking class with a family in the mountains, and we just spent the whole day in this tiny village connecting and talking to them. And yes, we actually ended up creating incredibly beautiful footage. I think one of my favorite photos I've ever taken was from there. However, more importantly, I got to have like a real travel experience. And I think if you get too caught up in the content making and forget your why behind why you're traveling, why you're creating, why you want to share, I think that's probably the biggest mistake anyone can make in this industry.
Yeah, and there's a video that you should look up after you've watched this. A guy called Cody Ko on YouTube makes great videos, but he made one about basically this shallow travel vlogging scene. And there's like, I can't remember what the actual video is called, but search like blue ass water.
Yeah.
I think it will come up. But it's like talking about this idea that everyone's showing this amazing, perfect life, which I think is a problem on especially Instagram and stuff. But I feel like it can become a thing when you're travel vlogging as well. It's all these amazing locations and it's beautiful and it's incredible, like you said, with drone shots. But I'd say just don't get caught up in that. Make sure that you're prioritizing like having authentic, deep connections with the culture and the places you are.
Also, from my experience, when you have a touching, beautiful experience on your travels, and then you share that in a video, that's so much more impactful than just like beautiful B-roll of things going on.
Yeah, and people also like, they can sense when you're passionate about something and genuinely excited. And I feel like even if that's not something that that person is directly excited or passionate about, just the passion and excitement is contagious. Like I watch videos sometimes. I hope it's success. Yeah, I watch videos sometimes of things that I wouldn't necessarily be into, but yeah, I can see the passion. It's like coming out of the screen, it's coming out of the video.
Yeah, okay, the next question I have, how do you stay excited about creating no matter how long you've been creating for, and how do you avoid burnout?
Yeah, exactly what I was just saying. I think making sure that I'm starting from a place of genuine passion for me, and I think also just keep on checking in and that, because I feel like it's very easy just to keep doing the same thing. You find a formula, and I think us as humans, we try and find formulas to make things succeed in our lives, I guess. And I think it's easy to find something that works, and you're like, oh, I just need to keep doing this. But eventually, with anything you're doing, whether it's making videos or any other career, I think if things become too repetitive and it starts feeling like it's sucking, you don't have the creativity in it anymore, I think that can lead to burnout, because it just feels like then you're just doing a job.
Yeah, you're like almost on a treadmill, just
yeah. And I think for me, making sure that I'm like innovating and pivoting my content, and that's been a real challenge for me as well, especially during lockdown, not traveling as much. I actually ended up filming a whole series of me like converting my old Volkswagen van to electric, which is some of the best performing content I've done on YouTube ever. And it was funny because that's the first like non-travel related stuff that's really done well for me. But yeah, I'd say like and that was just because I was really excited and passionate to do this project, and I was like, oh, I may as well film it. I think this would be interesting. But it came first from a place of wanting to do it, and then being like, okay, how do I wrap this in a way that still is kind of relatable, or in a format that people can enjoy, but I think that's the way I approach it.
Yeah, I think definitely follow your passion and continue to check in with yourself and make sure that there's a balance, because you can get very easily caught up in numbers, and especially because numbers, they just look like these tiny numbers on the screen, and you almost forget that there's like real people behind it. And yeah, just reminding yourself that even if a small number of people watch your videos, each one of those people is a human being that you can impact and inspire, and focusing on that and following your passion. I mean, it's tough. It can be tough, and every creator I know has had moments of burnout, but I would also say, like what I said earlier, experiment with different things. And sometimes they won't do that well, and don't beat yourself up for it, and keep trying. Like, you've tried other things that didn't succeed as well, and then you did this van thing and it exploded. And for us, our travel channel has recently been growing a lot, and this is like a whole new thing that we're trying. And it's just, honestly, at first we were like, we might not even make any money on this. Let's just do this because we're really excited about it and it'll be really fun. And again, we were just following our passion, and it happened to work out this time. So yeah, just continue to follow your passion, I would say.
Also, I think a big part of it for me, and going back to kind of, I guess, the title for this talk, is like having purpose in what you're doing. I think it can be really easy just to, I don't know, like forget the meaning behind why we do things in our lives. And I think constantly checking in and being like, what's the bigger picture here? Like, even with our couples channel, we've talked a lot about like, what are the messages we want to promote to our audience? What are the lifestyle things that we want to show? Like, if it's like, okay, we want to treat people better, we want to treat the planet better, we want to find more sustainable ways to live. Eventually we're moving down to Costa Rica and we're living in this eco community, and I think I'm so excited to share all of that, because for me that's part of our purpose as well, of like, how do we reimagine our lives and society, and how do we do it in a better way? How do we start seeing real solutions to solve a lot of the problems that we see around us? And how can we document and show that to others and inspire others to do stuff? And I love that a lot of the travel you know, even what's really interesting, the house we're staying in, the couple that live here, we know them because they saw a video of us visiting this eco community, which we ended up buying land in, and they saw that video and then they bought land there. So it's like proof already that like us showing things in our videos, travel experiences, cool things we're finding out about, whatever, it has a real impact on our audience. And I feel like that's something, if you're wanting to make videos and travel vlog, is like, what is it that you want to inspire people to do? Is it just to visit places and take photos in front of like nice landmarks and touristy locations and get those beautiful shots, or is it like a deeper meaning, you know? So
my next question, actually, Clark just asked this, and this is literally my next question. How do you know when to put the camera away to keep your travel authentic, but also make sure that you don't miss out on content that is valuable to your story? This is a balance that is very difficult to find and a constant search. I think, honestly, you just have to keep checking in with yourself and seeing if you feel that balance well enough, because Louis daily vlogged for a long time and he had to find some kind of balance within that daily vlogging. Today, we actually were planning on daily vlogging our road trip right now, and a couple of days in, we're like, we need to do every other day because it's so overwhelming. We are not being present. We're just so focused on editing, trying to find Wi-Fi. It was just way too much. So I think continuously checking in with yourself, and honestly, like, you might find a specific thing that works for you. When we were traveling really quickly, I used to have this rule where on day one, I would not film anything, so I could just like fully experience somewhere new and be present and like take it all in. And then I could start vlogging from day two. So that was just like a random thing that I tried that worked for me. But just, keep checking in with yourself.
Yeah, it's hard to make like set rules for everyone, because I feel like some people I know, like content creators, have so much energy, and I'm like, if you've got the energy, tap into that now, because it's not going to last. Like, trust me, 10 years in, I have nowhere near the same energy levels as I did. But, you know, I think it goes in seasons. I think there's ups and downs, and it's a roller coaster. But just stick at it and just keep, you know, like I said, the thing for me to stop yourself from burning out is keep tapping into that reason why you're doing it in the first place.
Let's answer a couple more questions.
Yeah, so this one from Jonathan. I hope you guys are having the best time, doing well. My question, I'm worried about traveling alone. Do you recommend traveling with a buddy? If I do go somewhere alone, what tips can you give to prepare and stay safe?
I think there's specific places that cater to solo travelers. For me as a woman, I can say Bali, I feel completely safe traveling alone. And a lot of Europe, I feel safe. Especially, Europe is a great example. I don't know how it is right now with COVID, but before all of this, hostels were a huge thing in Europe, and I traveled a lot staying in hostels. When you stay in a hostel, you get to meet tons of other travelers, and often I would make friends and then just go out and explore the city with them as well. So there's some places where there's specific travelers that are like more open and looking to make friends. I'd say kind of do some research. There's so many articles and blogs and stuff you can find about people sharing best places for solo travel. If you can find a buddy, obviously that's amazing, but a lot of people I know don't travel because none of their friends want to travel with them. And I would say, if you want to travel, do not let that stop you. Like I said, go stay in a hostel and you'll very likely make friends pretty quickly.
And honestly, for me, I'm quite a big guy, so I don't feel as intimidated. And I don't know whether that's naive sometimes even for me, but I'd say like checking in your comfort levels. Some of the most profound experiences of my life, which were actually before I even started vlogging on YouTube, were solo travel experiences. I feel like that can be really transformational. And I think, yes, there's amazing, you know, at any point there's opportunities to connect with other travelers, going to youth hostels. It's like, I don't feel like you should feel like, oh no, I'm going to be alone the whole trip. But when you do get a few days alone and you get to experience being with yourself and exploring somewhere new, like and like meeting people, I don't know, for me it's just, you know, I've had that in Australia. I ended up hitchhiking like 2,500 miles around Australia, having literally the most incredible adventure. And again, in like the in Mallorca in Spain, I spent, and at Ibiza, spent time on my own. Just so yeah, I would say go for it. There's always the opportunity to meet people, but there's something powerful about solo travel.
Mhm. Okay, Teddy asked, how long do people get started with traveling, and then to get started, we're also trying to do right by your audience and being honest about a place like North Korea sounds really tough to cover. So in terms of getting started with travel vlogging, I mean, getting started on YouTube is getting tougher and tougher, but it's not too late at all. Like we know people that started a year ago and are doing very, very well. I would say something that can help in the beginning is having a goal that you're sharing with your audience. So our good friends Kara and Nate, I'm sure you've heard of them, they're two of the biggest travel bloggers. They started out with a goal of visiting 100 countries, and we have people that meet us on the street that are like, oh, you know, Kara and Nate, I watched them when they were traveling to visit 100 countries. It's like it's a kind of a thing that grips people and that makes people want to come back and keep watching. So just having some kind of goal or something that you're sharing with your audience so they want to like come along for the journey.
Yeah, it's like a storyline that's like threads throughout, rather than each vlog's just like a randomly disconnected vlog.
Yeah, that and or having a niche. So our other friend Janelle, she blew up for living in a van with a pet snake. Like it was such a unique experience. And we know people, you know, there's huge travel channels where they just try street food and they like review food. So if you have a specific passion, again, follow your passion. Like what's your story that you have to tell, and why do people want to watch your vlogs over like the Discovery Channel or something? Like what's your personal story?
Yeah, don't try and do too many things. Just try and like hone in on one niche thing.
Yeah, so that's my tip. Oh, one more question from Rico. How far in advance should I book an international trip? How do I match up being spontaneous with making sure I plan things smartly?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I think for me, I really like, I find both organized trips and spontaneous trips have their pros and cons. I think organizing stuff can be cool if you want to like pack in a bunch of stuff. If you've got limited time to travel, I do think organizing at least a couple of activities a day or something, or knowing a rough itinerary, leaving room to change your plans if you meet somebody and they like invite you somewhere or whatever. I think if you're traveling at a slower pace, which is my dream, and we talk about all the time, is like wanting to just slow everything down a bit. I feel like you can plan in less and leave more room for spontaneity. I mean, even coming to stay here, like this was probably only a few days.
Yeah, they just sent us a message a couple of days ago.
Yeah, so it's like we had enough flexibility in our kind of like rough planned schedule. Maybe that's it. It's plan a schedule, planning stuff.
But be open.
But keep it flexible. But then I guess if you've booked in,
I would honestly say book your first accommodation for your first few days, and then maybe even like have rough ideas of places you might want to stay, but be open. That's so, especially if you're staying in hostels or meeting people, it's so common that you might meet someone that's like, oh, come to this thing, we're all going to this like festival that's happening. You know, you might miss incredible things if you're like, oh, I booked a hotel for the next 10 days, so I can't do anything. So just something that, you know, you have a rough idea. I mean, maybe you don't meet anyone and you're like, perfect, I had this hotel I wanted to go to and I'm still going to go there. But just leave yourself the space just in case something does come along. Okay, there's more questions coming in, but we'll do a Q&A at the end as well, so we can
we'll save
talk a little bit more. Any tips and advice on traveling more consciously?
Yeah, so I think obviously we're coming into a new phase in the world, you could say, where like the whole world has, you know, in many ways completely changed in the last year and a half or however long the pandemic's been happening. There's been a huge shift for everybody. And I'm excited that this has allowed people to reimagine, what does the world look like? What do we want the world to look like as we move out of this? And I really do think we are slowly moving out of this. It's not like the world's going to go back to how it was overnight, or maybe ever. But I do think there's an amazing opportunity here to reimagine our lives, our work, and, our travel as well. So for me, I would say it's just thinking, okay, yes, we want to travel and have these amazing experiences, but it's more than just our experience at any cost. It's like, how do we do this in a way which is honouring local people and communities, helping where we spend money when we travel. It's an amazing opportunity for wealth distribution, that we can help spend our tourist dollars or whatever to actually go into the local people's pockets, rather than these big corporate chains, whether it's restaurants and hotels. So I'd say firstly, try and do things locally, try and buy and stay with locals, and do, there's ways to find online, just more conscious travel like that.
Yeah, find cute little family-run restaurants. Stay in an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Also, if you're gonna buy souvenirs, don't just go to a shop where everything's made in China. Maybe you can find a local craftsman that's making wood carvings or something that's you're seeing the person making it. Those are just so much more special anyway. So yeah, where you can, make sure that your money is going to the locals, especially now as the world is opening back up to travel. So many places, people whose livelihoods have depended on tourism have had a very difficult time for the last year and a half. So as we're going back, you booking a little boat tour with this sweet guy, at the end of the dock, that might be the money to feed his family for the week. I just think wherever you can, bring your money to the locals. And then also being conscious about, I think it's when you're a guest somewhere, treat it like you're a guest. I've seen tourists litter and get drunk and scream in the street and
be abusive.
Yeah, it is such a privilege that you get to be a guest in this new land. Treat it that way. Treat it with respect. Not only don't litter, pick up trash when you're walking down the beach. And almost try to leave it better than you found it. And it's not just about what you can take from the trip, but what can you being there, how can the place be made better, whether it's you being kind to people, supporting locals, cleaning up, just kind of being conscious of everything you do.
Yeah, I think unfortunately around the world, tourists get a bad, and probably fair enough, get a bad rep. A lot of locals hate tourists because they just come and trash the place and aren't kind and aren't thinking about the locals. They're just thinking about, my holiday experience or whatever. So yeah, I totally agree. I think that's big. And then I think in terms of bigger picture, how do we travel more sustainably for the planet? I think that's a really tough question for me, because the majority of places you want to travel around the world internationally, you need to fly to. And currently, flying isn't very environmentally friendly. I think obviously this technology is advancing. There's better biofuels planes are using. There's airlines that are carbon offsetting everything. So I would say try and limit your flying as much as possible. But I'm not one of those black and white, oh no, I'm never going to fly again. And I've literally got friends that are saying they're only going to do one international flight a year and stuff. I'm not committing to that. I feel like that's unrealistic. But I do think,
yeah, where you can, can you take a train instead? Because I can tell you, trains are my favorite way to travel.
Yeah, public transport's great because you're not just in your own car as one person or two people. You're it makes sense.
There's just again, it's, I guess the word conscious travel. Conscious means just using your brain a bit more, and before you just go to book a flight somewhere, take a second and think, is there a better way for me to get there? And if there isn't, how can I make the most of my experience there? So, can I stay longer? Can I, just make the most of this one big trip versus just flying for a day or two and then flying back if you can. And then something big for us, this is actually a lifestyle change. I think someone asked about compare, or how can you design your lifestyle around your beliefs. So we're both plant-based, we're vegan. So traveling the world and eating plant-based. I mean, sitting at home and eating plant-based is like doing so much for the world, but especially while traveling, we love supporting vegan restaurants and just knowing that, that we are not contributing to animal cruelty and just the environmental effects of that. Like that's the thing that we're doing to travel more consciously.
Yeah, and people are surprised sometimes because they're like, "Oh wow, like how do you find vegan food in all these countries you go to?" Honestly, it's been one of the best adventures, culinary adventures, because we find the most amazing food in the places we'd least expect it. We went to Medellin in Colombia, and it was the best vegan restaurant we've ever been to.
We literally were looking up Airbnbs in the area to be like, can you come live here for a month and eat at this restaurant? It was so good.
So anyway, it's always been a surprise, and it's got better and better over the years. Yeah, that's again such a great way to live more consciously.
Mm-hmm. Okay, a couple more questions. Jonathan asked, have you ever traveled with other travel bloggers, like sailing with Vagabond, where it's different from what you usually do? We've done a lot of travel with other bloggers.
We've never stayed with sailing travel vloggers. I've done 1 or 2 vlogs. We've never met sailing the Vagabond, but we've chatted a bit online. But I'd like to. I think that'd be fun.
It'd be super fun. But yeah, we absolutely love traveling with other bloggers. Like I said, Karen, Nate, we just met up with them in the US. A few other travel bloggers, Kristen and Sia from Hopscotch the Globe, are some of our best friends, and we actually bought our land right next to each other in Costa Rica, so we're literally like going to spend the rest of our life together. But yeah, it's so much fun. And I've seen so many travel bloggers that are just starting out connect with other travel bloggers. Again, to your question of traveling alone, if you do want to create content, reach out to other people if they're in your area or if they have like a similar size channel to you. It's so much fun to collaborate and travel together, so would definitely very highly recommend it.
Yeah, for sure. And then we've got Peter asking, what kinds of tips for navigating language differences? Sometimes it seems hard to do. Wondering if you have special tricks you use if you do not speak the same as where you visit.
Try to learn at least a couple of words. Honestly, we're in France. I don't speak any French, but whenever I meet someone, I say bonjour first, and then I'm like, do you speak English? So I think just opening with at least like saying hello in the native language, I think is kinder than just being like, do you speak English? And like expecting them to be able to speak to you in your own language. And I mean, there's simple phrases like, where's the bathroom? Or thank you. Thank you is a huge one. Make sure that hello and thank you should always be known before you get somewhere. I think if you show that you're putting in some kind of effort, and I think they'll be really respected. And then also, honestly, there's so many other ways of communicating besides language. I feel like we always find a way, whether it's like through like pointing at things or...
But also Google Translate. There's an app that we've been using just to translate all of our menus and stuff in restaurants, and it's just immediate image translate. You just hover it over the menu and it just pops up in English. So
but when it comes to communicating with other people, I think just lean with kindness and people will see if you're trying.
Yeah.
Russell asks, how do you navigate relational conflict between each other when your work is dependent on creating content together?
I think it is a very valid question, because I think it does add another layer of stress to a relationship when you're trying to do things. Obviously, there's obstacles. Creating content whilst traveling and finding ways to upload that is a stress in itself.
And we've never made videos together before. Like I said, we've always had our own channel, so this has been a whole new journey for us.
This is new, and I think whether it's this or any part of life, I think relationships, it's really good just communicating, just finding ways to communicate through your issues, try not to lose your temper with each other, have kind of understanding and compassion. There's something, I mean, that we could get really deep here, but there's something we've been learning about like primary and secondary emotions that you show. Often when you're angry or frustrated, it's not anger necessarily. There's something behind that. It might be like the fear of not getting something done, that you don't want to let people down or whatever it is, or you're upset and it's like respond to the primary emotion. So if like one of us is angry at the other, instead of us getting angry back, it might be like, okay, how do I respond if this person is just upset rather than like angry? And then you respond to that, give each other a hug, or sometimes we need space from each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Sometimes we're like, I'm just gonna go for a walk. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I need a little
but
time
the biggest thing, I think, I mean, for us, obviously, we have a romantic relationship, but just coming back to love, as cheesy as that sounds, like if we have an argument, even if we walk off to cool off for a second, we always come back very quickly and we're like, oh, this sucks. Can we just hug each other and love each other again? Because it doesn't feel good to be fighting. And I think always just coming back to that, you know, don't let your ego get in the way of saying sorry and saying I love you, because that is so much more important than whatever tiny thing you're arguing about right now.
And we have a few like practices of like stopping when we're getting worked up, taking some breaths together, listing off things we're grateful for, listing off things that we love about each other. These are all honestly great ways to kind of snap out of that.
And there's also one last thing. There's something called the ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian practice. It's very simple. It's 4 phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And just looking each other's eyes and saying that over and over again always diffuses the situation. So, yeah, those are our biggest tips.
Yeah, it has been a challenge, even over the last week of kind of being on the road full time, traveling through France,
vlogging,
fast paced, vlogging, editing. It's it's been a challenge, but I think that is part of the adventure of doing what we do.
And then also for us, we actually love sharing. We just love sharing honestly about what our experiences are. So if we are having a tough time, we talk about it on our blog. And I think for us, it feels right being authentic and kind of sharing our experience. But anyway, I think that our time is up.
Is it though? I feel like they'll give us warning.
Well, they said wrap up whenever it's natural, and that was like a while ago.
Okay, cool.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to VidCon for having us.
Thank you.
It's been great to be part of.
And hopefully we'll be at some of the in-person VidCon soon, so we'll see some of you there.
And come and check out our channel, Raya and Louis, and we're going to be sharing a lot of our van life, living on the road, and when we get back to the US, we're going to move back into the school bus we own, and then we're sharing the whole trip, driving that down through North and then Central America to Costa Rica.
And then we're going to share our life living in an eco village in Costa Rica.
Building a house, all of that. It's going to be amazing.
Our wedding, everything. There's lots to look forward to. Okay, thank you all so much.
I hope this has been helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are, whatever time it is.